You are aliveness, indivisible aliveness. There is just aliveness. Everything is appearing within aliveness. And yet within that aliveness, there is a mental reality. That divides the whole, the indivisible whole, into its own perspective. It's taught to do this by other separate intelligences. It's taught to do this by what we call parents and teachers and siblings. But all these concepts are mental concepts. You are inseparable from your parents. You are inseparable from life itself. You are all of creation. You are the creator of all that is. You are God. Whatever word you want to put on it, you are that. And that's all you can say. When the mind is, when the sense of a self is mature enough from being fed by society, by other foreign intelligences, foreign in terms of not you, it starts to form its own sense of self and continues through life moulding itself on all that it claims is happening to it. There is no self. There's no personal self. There's no higher self. There's no the self. In terms of the mental understanding of that, there is just aliveness without any identity and any sense of separation. And this aliveness is untouched by everything that comes and goes and appears within it. And yet, by everything coming and going and appearing within it, it is experiencing itself, or is experiencing its reflection, the light of what it is. Now, within all of that, there is this separate dance, the dance of the self, the personal self. But this is only a mental creation. I can't emphasize this enough. Whether it's pursuing educational improvement, whether it's pursuing spiritual development or evolution, whether it's pursuing monetary or material success, whether it's pursuing loving fulfillment, whether it's pursuing sporting accolades, it is only trying to polish what is not real. It is only trying to improve what does not exist. It is only trying to better what it is not, what is unreal. And the only way to come out of this identification with a self that is separate from life itself and is always needing to get something from life and be something better than it is, or it perceives itself to be, is to realize that it doesn't exist and you were never in it. And you were never it. It is experiencing itself as a self by claiming experience and pinning it to itself. It is effectively a parasite, a mental, intellectual parasite that is living off of experience, is living off of a host, is identifying as a self with itself in order to be a self. It is just so simple. And yet the self is trying to improve itself rather than realize there is no self. And even though there are no selves, there's a lot of selves in this message. I love it. So true freedom isn't found by polishing what doesn't exist. It's found by realizing it doesn't exist and you were never it. There's a wonderful Hindu story about, I'm rubbish at telling stories, but let's give it a go, about the lion and the sheep. So a lion cub was brought up by a herd of sheep, and it identified itself with its surroundings. It identified itself with its experience, and it thought it was a sheep. It used to even bar, and it was frightened of wolves and dogs and everything that sheep do, it did. And it belonged in the flock, in the herd. And one day a lion came chasing the herd. And all the sheep ran, and this lion cub ran as well, thinking it was running for its life. And then the lion saw a lion in the herd and thought, what the hell is that? And so it chased after this lion, caught it, dragged it to the nearest river, and said, what are you running from me for? And he said, because you're a lion. And he said, so are you. And he said, no, I'm not, I'm a sheep. What are you on about? And as he got him by the scruff of the neck. He was a very angry lion. And, and he showed his own reflection. He pulled him to the water and showed his reflection. And then the lion realized he was a lion. And he was never a sheep. And in that second, it didn't take anything other than realizing he was not a lion. Sorry, he was not a sheep. It's going well. And within that second, that's all that was needed. That he just needed to realize he was never a sheep. And this is exactly the same with the mind, or with you. All that is needed to be free of what you are not, to be truly yourself without a self, is to realize you never were a self, and you never were separate from what you are. You never went anywhere. You never did anything. You literally are just aliveness that is experiencing everything. but nothing is happening to you. Life moves. Consciousness is constantly moving. But you have never moved and will never move. You are unmoving, immutable, untouched, unchanged, nameless, formless, timeless, identityless, absolute aliveness. Stop believing you are something and realize you are everything. Thank you.